Hey everyone, welcome back. This is part 4 of my new series, Other Realms of Reality. And for this particular one, I'm not going to give an experience of a psychic phenomena, but what I am going to do is I'm going to talk about an evolutionary consciousness shift, which I feel is really important at this stage to bring in here. I will also share what I actually do, one of the tools that I use for all of these subjects, really, the one that I kind of utilize in my daily life because it's so imperative right now, and I'll explain more in a minute. So I will continue on with my experiences in the next videos and onwards, but particularly for this session, I just want to talk about this evolutionary leap in consciousness and kind of my understanding of it, really. And I just want to say, before I delve into this, I really only cover sort of a brief area of what I'm discussing, but also from my perspective. And there are many perspectives out there, so it's really important to always use discernment, and I will use that regularly in my videos because it's so key and it's so vital right now. So do not listen to what I say if it doesn't resonate with you. Do not listen to what someone else says if it doesn't resonate with you. Really, ultimately, you should be going within and listening to your own inner voice. But if, like many and myself on that journey, that's been cut off along the way because we've been so focused on the material and life and getting through life, then we often kind of lose touch with that inner self. And there are tools and techniques to kind of step into that. And I will come into that later. But for this particular video, please just use discernment where you can. If something feels right to you and it resonates, then by all means listen to it. If it doesn't, just listen into your gut instinct and discard it. Okay, so where to start with this subject, because it's such a big subject, and to cover it briefly is going to be a real feat, but I'll do my best. So I'll just lay the foundations so that we can build up on this image of what I'm trying to put across. I talked briefly, if you haven't checked out my part 3 of this series, I do talk briefly about timelines and dimensions, and this very much does come into our consciousness shift. And I'm also mentioned about the third density going up into the fifth density, and that humanity is supposedly going through third to fifth density shift right now. And I did mention in that if anybody would like to know a bit more about that, that's why I'm sharing this video now, because I did have a request from the lovely Sharon. So this is kind of for you, Sharon, but also for anybody else that would like to listen. So starting with dimensions, dimensions are supposedly, and I use the word supposedly because I really don't know. I don't have 100% proof, and I don't think anybody does really, unless they're truly, truly connected to their higher self and source energy. So this is why I say discernment is really key. So from my understanding, there are many different dimensions, and some say up to 12, some say 13. When we tune into our guides or our higher self, in essence, we are tuning into a higher frequency, and that would be in another dimension to what we're in. When we tune into our higher self, this is also in a higher dimension, but this is our core true self, which is connected to source energy. This is the one really we want to be listening to guidance from and discernment, because there are people, let's just say, that do try and connect with other dimensions and frequencies without actually lifting their own frequency and vibration, or doing the spiritual work that enables them to do that. For example, meditation on a regular basis, regular practices like grounding, connecting with the earth and nature regularly, working at releasing repressed emotions and traumas from the past, and not just from your past, but also your lineage, what you've inherited through the DNA of your parents. The list goes on, but just to give you an idea, without doing that inner work and raising your frequency and vibration. In essence, you're opening yourself up to more of the astral plane, which is the fourth dimension. And the problem with that is there are many discarnate souls out there that do feed off of what's called loosh, which is the energy of a person. So say, for example, you're in fear mode, you're in guilt, you're in depression or just a lower frequency energy state, then you can attract these entities in. And I know I have personally over the years, and that's another thing I will be sharing in another video. So I've had a fair bit of experience with this, although there's people out there that have had a lot more than what I have. I've still had enough to kind of gauge some understanding of this. So as you can see, raising your vibration and frequency is so important before you open up and try and connect with spirit and loved ones, because really you just don't know who you're going to get through. And in all fairness, they're very, very clever at masking themselves as being something else. They will give you, say, 9/10 of the truth, just to kind of pull you in with the information and then tell you one lie. And you might say, well, what is the point of that? Because they're feeding off your energy and they keep you in this suppressed state that you are constantly relying on something outside of yourself for the answers. Now, obviously, that is not the case for every single person. If you are working on yourself and you are in a higher frequency when you connect, again, discernment is the key. But there are many people out there that do a wonderful job and connect with their guides regularly, and their guides are who they say they are. But it's a case of discernment at a deep level. And I find I've actually personally not opened myself up over the last few years, really, mainly because of the experiences that I've had, because you just don't know what's coming through, but also because for me, I was still very much learning about what discernment was, and I'm still on that journey. But for me now, it's very much about feeling the energy rather than what comes into your mind, because with vibration and frequency, you will feel the difference. Whereas images and voices and things in the mind can be a deception, because the mind actually is a tool in the body and a very good tool that we very much need. But the difference is the heart is connected to our source, our higher self. And this is why it's really important to feel into an energy rather than think it, because the mind can be deceived. The heart can't. Vibration and frequency will not deceive you as long as you are in tune with feeling into things. And this is where I will again give you a tool at the end, something that I'm kind of delving into and practicing most days now, and it's been really, really helpful for me. So why do I talk about all of this? This is really to give you a basic understanding of consciousness, why we're going through this evolutionary shift. So when they talk about going from the third density to the fifth density, and that fourth density being where you have souls that are kind of in that in-between phase, and the afterlife, when we talk about connecting with spirits, ghosts, that's kind of the fourth density. But the fifth density is a much higher vibrational frequency. So in order to get to the fifth density, which is the evolutionary shift we are going through right now, and I do very much believe that, we need to work on ourselves and release some of those things from the past. And there's many different techniques out there to do that. But you could say that we're very much being guided through that right now. And this is where I come on to the chaos in the world right now. And it's no mistake. And anybody that follows astrology, and I will say for the skeptics out there, please do your research on astrology. It is not a pseudoscience. It is absolutely used from the ancient times to the current times. It's used by just about all walks of life. Even people in the high up banking industries use astrology as a way of predicting what is likely to come. And it doesn't mean that you don't have free will with what happens in your life, but it has been proven that astrology absolutely is a science and is a big part of our life. So we can use it in a way to navigate what's going on and have a better understanding so that we're not always in victim mode, which is often our, instinctual reaction to things. So astrology is very much highlighting a lot of what's going on at the moment and has been all the way through. And it's also highlighting some very, very key, unusual things coming up that have even never happened before, that is able to be traced and is very unique. And I highly recommend you check out Pam Gregory. She's a well-known astrologer in the UK and is known worldwide. And she has some really interesting topics that she shares on videos on her channel. I will put the link in the description box below for those of you that are interested. But just going back to what I was talking about, the chaos at the moment. So for using astrology as an example, it's been predicted in the astrology that this particular year would be a big year. And also last year was more about the endings and culmination of things. And if any of you, like me, felt it, it was quite a very challenging year last year. Now, this year, 2026, is also a challenging year, but there's some good things happening as well and some new beginnings. But for each individual person, you would need to check out your own personal birth chart through a professional astrologer, as we're all unique and it will affect us differently depending on what's going on in our own charts. So if we think of consciousness as a vibrational frequency, in essence, what is happening at the moment is we are being triggered in certain areas of our lives to change. This can come about in many different ways, through the people that we meet, through situations where we're triggered, and it's an uncomfortable trigger. Because if you have a glass of water and there's mud in the bottom and you shake the glass of water, it's going to stir up the mud. So in essence, what is within us is being stirred up to be released. And if you are consciously going through this shift, then there are tools and techniques out there to obviously work through those things. Some people are doing it part unconsciously, things are coming up and they're just naturally releasing. But what would normally happen over many, many years is being sped up. And this is predominantly why we're seeing such chaos out there. So just to elaborate a bit more on this, because it's really important, how are we all connected and how does it work this way? Going back to timelines from my previous video, I touched briefly on personal timelines, which are more to do with your individual choices through life, whether you're taking one route or another. There is also a collective timeline, I believe, and this is linked into all of us, just as much as source energy is linked to all of us through our heart, through our higher self. So in essence, we are connected to everybody on this planet and everything on this planet, and everything actually off planet, if you want to bring in the astrology side, because it's not just the earth that we have a connection to, we also have a connection off planet. But that's too big a topic really for this video. But if we look at our individual personal timelines of what we've been on and how that's interlinked to everybody around us and what we call a collective timeline, which I believe has changed over the years and has fluctuated depending on human consciousness, because obviously we're all unique, we're all going through our own individual stages. So when we work on ourselves and we do any inner work, or we heal, or we change, we're altering that collective timeline. Now, there are people, and again, this is my own resonance at the moment, that we are now heading on one timeline in the same direction, although we still got our own unique individual preferences and choices of which way we go. We're collectively going in the same direction in consciousness. Now, here's where the free will comes in play. Obviously, we are influenced by other people, other energies around us for the reasons I've just mentioned, that we're all connected and that we have set blueprints in our lives, that we come here to overcome certain things, challenges, meet certain people. But we also have free will. Free will to make our own choices in life and choose our own paths. Just like if you choose to consciously ignore something that comes up, or you look at it and think of it as an opportunity to change, which will help push you forward and make things a little easier on this evolutionary shift. So in essence, just to summarize, the chaos that we're seeing right now is the culmination of people's wounds coming to the surface as an opportunity to heal, and the collapse of old systems which are now outdated and no longer supported in the newer energy and frequencies, because what we give out comes back. So when you give out a positive vibe, energy, that will come back to you. And you're also sending that out to everybody on this planet, everything on this planet. So when you're in wounded mode and you send out a negative thought, it will come straight back at you, because the universe is reflecting to you where you need to heal yourself. And this is why we're seeing the chaos we are right now, because everything is being speeded up to help shift us into this higher frequency of consciousness. And the more we focus on those things collapsing, and we focus on the fear, and we focus on those negative things that we deem negative in life, we're going to create more of that for ourselves. But there is some good news here. As individuals, we still have free will. And if you choose to work on yourself as an individual, that actually feeds back into the collective. And the good news is that higher frequencies do not get influenced by lower frequencies. They cannot stay in the same space and affect the higher frequency. So if you are in a higher frequency state, you cannot be influenced by lower energies unless there is something within you that is attracting that, whether it's a fear, whether it's guilt, whether it's shame, or something that's just tucked away in your subconscious that you're not even aware of. And this is where the tools and techniques can come in and are really, really helpful. Now, I just want to clarify one thing. This is not spiritual bypassing. And what I mean by that, it is not ignoring everything around you and going into another place and saying, I'm fine, you're not. That's not how it works. You still need to be present in your body. We're here in the physical body for a reason, but it's how you are influenced and where you put your attention. The more you focus on healing yourself, believe it or not, the more you're actually helping other people. Because by putting that level of higher frequency into that collective timeline, you're helping others to heal themselves. Because what will happen is somebody else that's been struggling with a similar problem will then suddenly get the insight to be able to know how to move through it and deal with it. And if you're still here, well done after this lengthy chat. I really didn't intend for it to go on this long, but just want to say, this is a journey for all of us. None of us know really where we're going fully. Some people have got insights and others are just, a lot of us right now are just taking one day at a time and seeing what happens, and we've got no idea what's around the corner. And yes, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but at the same time, it's quite liberating. So for those that may be interested, I'm going to share a really good source with you now, and I will put the link in the description box below. But this gentleman's name is Dr. David Clements, and I've been working with his meditations and watching his videos now for about a year and a quarter. I was very much synchronistically drawn to him, and I won't share that with you now, but I was very much drawn to his work. And when I saw him for the first time on YouTube, on the video, on one of his first videos, I was just blown away. There was something in me that resonated really, really, really strongly with him and what he was teaching. And it was predominantly around connecting with your heart, tuning into your heart, tuning into feeling your heart, doing various techniques and meditations in order to heal old wounds, traumas, in order to connect with your higher self more and source energy, so that you can find your own answers and your own truths without having to look outside of yourself for those answers. And yes, it's not necessarily a quick journey, but it's a process. And I'm for sure still on that process. But I will share the link with you below, because I've found his work just impeccable for me personally. But if that resonates with you, then please check it out below in the description box. Well, guys, I'm going to end it here because I'm aware it's turning into a longer video and I really didn't want that. So I hope some of you will find this helpful and give you some potential insight into what's going on at the moment around you. So in the meantime, take care of yourselves wherever you are, and I will see you soon for another video.